again, this is Sir Hill Bansuela Jr., your math kakwentuhan. Ayan, maraming salamat sa muli ninyong pagpapaunlak. Ayan, no? Sa aking mga video lessons, no? So sana nakakatulong sa atin. Ayan, yung mga series ng lectures natin. Ayan. So again, ginagawa natin itong mga video lessons na to para at least makatulong tayo doon sa mga kailangan nila ng materials in this particular topics, no po. So sa araw na ito, ang pag-uusapan natin guys ay yung factoring. Ayan. So last time pinag-usapan natin yung special products. So kung may special products, may special factoring din. So isa-isayin natin sila, no? Ayan, sige. So ayan yung una, okay? So kung makikita ninyo, ito po ang una. Ang tawag natin dyan ay difference of two squares. Ayan. So, bakit siya tinawag na difference of two squares? Kasi kung makikita ninyo guys, yung operator in between x squared and y squared is subtraction or minus. So, the answer in subtraction or when we minus, the answer or the result is called the difference. So, that's why difference. So why Sir Hill two squares? Because we have two perfect squares here. So yung x squared and y squared. And some books uses a squared minus b squared. So pareho lang naman yun guys, no? So ganun pa rin. So every time daw that the scenario is this, so difference of two squares, the answer is always a plus b multiply to a minus b. Or if you are using x and y, so x plus y multiply to x minus y. So that is always the answer, no? So mamaya ipapakita ko sa inyo kung paano yan ginagawa. And itong next two, ito yung tinatawag nating perfect square trinomials. Ayan. So, perfect square trinomials. Ayan. So, sa klase ko, tinatawag namin yan PST in short. So, yung difference of two squares, so tinatawag namin yan DOTS. Ayan, or dots. Ayan. So, mas maganda na rin yung minsan gumagamit tayo ng mga ganyan, no? Mnemonic ba tawag natin dyan guys. Ayan. Iyon. So, kapag perfect square daw yung trinomial natin guys, the answer is always the square of your x and y. So, some books uses a squared plus 2ab plus b squared. And the answer is a plus b then square. So, actually, itong dalawang to, nagbabago lang yung sign at the middle, no? So, kung minus yung nasa gitna o yung second term, automatic subtraction din or minus din yung in between a and b natin. So, mamaya ipapakita ko sa inyo kung paano yan ginagawa in action. And yung last two, ayan. So, isa-isahin natin yung isa, difference of two cubes. So, kanina, ang tawag natin, difference of two squares, kasi nga, yung mga given natin ay mga perfect square. So, ito, meron tayong difference of two cubes, kasi kung makikita ninyo, the operator in between x cube and y cube is minus, so difference of two cubes. Ayan. And we have sum of two cubes. Ayan. So basically, kapag nakita natin na perfect cube yung first element natin and second element, so some books uses a cube minus b cube. So don't be confused, the same lang yan. So, kunin lang natin yung ating A and B. Then, if it is minus, so we copy the minus dun sa binomial. Then, the rest, ano na siya, positive na. So, you just get the square of your A, then plus the product between A and B, then plus the square of your B. Ayan. So, basically, pareho lang yan. So, mamaya, ipapakita ko sa inyo kung paano yan ginagawa. So, ito yung mga special factoring formulas natin. Of course, meron tayong common monomial factor, no? Na ituturo rin sa inyo ng inyong mga teachers, and meron din tayong general trinomial, yung hindi siya perfect square. Okay? So, ayan. So, punta tayo sa halimbawa. Ayan, magbigay tayo ng exercise. Okay. So, unahin natin yung difference of two squares, no? Ayan. Sige. So, halimbawa ganito. We have x squared, then minus 9. Ayan. Alright. So, una guys, susuriin natin, no? If the given are perfect square. Okay? So, remember, difference of two squares, hindi porket makita agad natin na minus ito guys. Pwede na nating sabihin na, this is using difference of two squares. So, gumagamit siya ng difference of two squares, no? Hindi yun palaging ganon. So, we have to check how. So, how? That's the question, Sir Hill. How? So, let's get the square root of both first term and the second term. So, what is the square root of x squared? Of course, we have x. And what is the square root of 9? So, we have 3. Diba? Ayan. So, the square root of 9 is 3. The square root of x squared is x. Then, simply duplicate lang natin yung x and 3 with different sign, no? So, dapat alternate yung sign natin. It's either plus or minus or plus. It doesn't matter which comes first, no? Hindi palaging plus yung nauuna, pwede rin namang minus, no? Ayan. And this is our final answer. So, ganun lang siya kadali, guys. Okay, so let's try another one. Supposing I have x squared minus 25. Ayan. So, again, let's examine the first and the second term that we have if they are a perfect square. If they are perfect square, rather. So, simply get the square root of both terms. So, the square root of x squared, we have x, and the square root of 25, of course, that is equal to 5. And simply duplicate lang yung x and 5. And don't forget, we have to alter the sign. So, if you wish to write plus muna bago yung minus, or minus or plus, it doesn't matter. No, it doesn't matter. For as long as they are unlike sign with the same first element and second element. So that's how difference of two squares goes. So let's try another one. So supposing I have 16x squared and minus 144. Ayan. So basically, we have to test if the first and the second element that we have here are perfect square. So let's get the square root of both terms. So the square root of 16x squared, so that would be 4x, because 4 raised to 2 is equal to 16. Alright, so for you to be able to get the answer in a square root, so you have to memorize your perfect squares, no? Table, diba? Yan, squaring tables. Then, of course, the square root of 144, that is equal to 12, because 12 times 12 is 144. So, see, the multiplication table really exists pa rin until here, no? So, please memorize your multiplication table. Okay, so you may put plus here, and the other one is minus. Okay, so ganyan lang guys, no? Kailangan we duplicate the first element and the second element, but don't forget to alter the sign. So if you write plus on the first binomial, you write minus on the second one. Or if you wish to write minus sign on the first binomial, you should write plus sign on the second binomial. And that's how difference of two squares goes. Alright? Okay, so let's try to, so we are done here. So let's proceed on these two. So perfect square trinomials. So some books uses letter A, no, instead of uh, AB rather, instead of X and Y. So let's see. So if the given trinomial is a perfect square, so it must be written in the form of a squared plus 2ab plus b squared. And the answer is always the square of a plus b. Alright? Basically, if the operator of the middle term happens to be minus, then the operator in between a and b must be minus then as well. So let's try an example. Alright, supposing I have x squared minus 6x plus 9. Yan, basically. So the first thing that we're going to do, guys, is to test whether our first term and the last term are perfect square. So if not, then this is not a perfect square trinomial. Maybe this is just a general trinomial. Okay? Alright, so that's how to test if the given trinomial is a perfect square trinomial or a general trinomial only. Okay, so let's get the square root of x squared, of course. That would be x, and the square root of 9, that is equal to 3. Now, since we've got that, no? So we simply copy the sign at the middle, which is minus in this case. Then simply square it. Then that's the final answer, guys. As simple as that. Okay? So if you wish to check if your answer is correct, you simply expand x minus 3. So we know that x minus 3 squared is also equal to 2x minus 3, diba? And you do the FOIL method. Okay? So the product of the first terms, so x times x, that would be x squared. Alright? So the product of the outer terms, so negative 3 multiply to x, so that would be negative 3x. And the product of the inner term, alright, so negative 3 multiply to x, so that is equal to, again, negative 3x. Alright, and finally, the product of the last term. So negative 3 times negative 3, so that would be positive 9. Then let's simplify those terms in between because they are like terms. So therefore, we arrive at x squared minus 6x, then plus 9. And we simply go back to the original question. Okay, so that's how to double check. Unless you have a doubt in this formula. Okay, so let's try another example. So supposing I have, again, we are on PST, no? We are on perfect square trinomial or PST. Supposing I have x squared plus 8x plus 16. Again, the first thing that we're going to do to test if the trinomial is under perfect square trinomial is to get the square root of the first and the last term. Yan, wait lang. Natakpan yung 16. So let me just undo. Alright, just to make the example clear. Alright, so simply get the square root. If it happens that the first or the last term doesn't have a square root or an answer that is a perfect square, no? Then this particular trinomial is not a perfect square trinomial but just an ordinary trinomial. Okay? So since the square root of x squared gives us x, and the square root of 16 gives us 4, so therefore this is a perfect square. And again, just like what I told you on our first exercise on PST, so we simply copy the sign at the middle, then put a square. So therefore this is our final answer. Okay? So the checking is yours. So kayo na pong bahala mag-double check. So let's try another one. So supposing I have x squared plus 12x plus 36. Alright? So again, let's test if the first and the last term are perfect square. Alright? So basically, the square root of x squared. So I'm pretty sure you are very, very familiar on that na. Then the square root of 36, so we know that is 6. And again, simply copy the operator in between, which is plus. Then simply put a square, and this is immediately our final answer. So very, very easy, huh? So let's try another one. So supposing I have 4x squared plus 12x plus 9. Alright, again, the first thing that we're going to do is to test if the first term and the last term are perfect square. So what is the square root of 4? Of course, 2. The square root of x squared, x. The square root of 9, 3. So basically, we simply copy the sign at the middle, then we put a square. And this is the final answer. So it's very, very easy. So let's try another one. So supposing I have 9x squared, then minus 24x, then plus 16. Again, to check if the given trinomial is a perfect square trinomial, is simply get the square root of the first and the last term. Alright? So the square root of 9 is 3. The square root of x squared is x. Of course, we simply copy the sign at the middle, which is minus. And the square root of 16 is 4. And please do the checking. So in checking, we have to get the middle term. No? So yun lang yung chine-check natin, guys, yung middle term. If it is correct. So just like what I did a while ago. Okay? Ayan. And one last. So supposing I have x squared minus 14x, then plus 49. So another thing, no guys, another thing that very familiar on PST, the last term is always positive or plus. So automatic, if the trinomial that gives a negative last term, automatic that is not a perfect square trinomial. That is just an ordinary trinomial. Okay? So automatic, hindi na siya perfect square trinomial if the last term is negative. So always positive yung ating last term. Alright? So again, just get the square root of both first and last term. So the square root of x squared, again, that is x. And we simply copy the sign at the middle, which is minus. Then the square root of 49 is 7. Then let's put a square. And this is our final answer. Again, the checking will be yours. So kayo na pong bahala sa checking, guys. So you use FOIL method. So after combining the middle term, so you should get the following terms at the middle. So yun yung i-check natin, guys, if we are going to get this middle term after we do the FOIL method. Okay? And that is the perfect square trinomials. So we are done on these three. So we are now going to the difference of two cubes and sum of two cubes. Alright, again, supposing I have x cubed, alright, minus 8. Alright, so kanina guys, no, ang focus natin, perfect square. So since this is cube, so we are looking for perfect cube. So the first thing that we're going to do guys is to identify our x and y. So before I answer this problem, so some books uses a cube minus b cube instead of using x and y. So don't worry, they are the same. So we simply get a minus b as one of the factor, and the other factor is the square of a, then plus the product between a and b. Alright, so we simply get the product between a and b, whatever the value of your a and b, just get the product, then plus the square of your b. So if you could notice guys, the operator minus, no, in the difference of 2 cube, so we get that minus on the binomial, but on the trinomial all positive. Okay, so you have to take note of that. So let's try to answer the problem. X cube minus 8. So the first thing that we're going to do guys is to identify what is our a and b. So how to do that? So we have to get the cube root. So this time we are going to get the cube root of both x cube and 8. So the difference of two cubes and sum of two cubes will only applies to those perfect cube. So you have to know your perfect cube table, no? Yung cube tables natin. So of course, if you're going to get the cube root of x cubed, then you will arrive at x. So that is your a. Then we simply copy minus sign, no? Just like what we have here on a minus b. So we simply copy the operator, no? Ayan. Then your b is the answer when we get the cube root of 8. Your b is not 8. Okay? Remember, this is b cube. So b cube is equal to 8. So we have to get b. So how to get b? Diba? So we have to get the cube root of both sides. Ayan. So automatic, this is cancelled. So what we have here is b. Then cube root of 8 is equal to 2. Why? Simply because if I multiply 2 tries, then I will get 8. So 2 times 2, 4 times 2, 8. So that's how perfect cube goes. So any number that you triplicate and multiply them, that is a perfect cube. So 2 times 2 times 2, 8. So that is a perfect cube. 3 times 3 times 3, that is 27. So that is a perfect cube. Alright? Okay. So I have here x minus 2. Now, according to the patterns, I need to get a square. So my a is x and my b is 2. So we just like what we did during our special product. So we simply plug in the value of a and b according to what we get, no? So we simply plug in. So all a must be replaced by x and all b must be replaced by 2. So we have a squared, and since a is x, so therefore I have here x squared, then automatic plus. Then let's get the product between a and b. So your a is x, your b is 2, so x times 2, that is 2x. Alright, so we always write the number first before the variable. No, we don't write x2. So in algebra, we write first the numerical value before we write the literal value. Then plus the square of your b, and here your b is 2. So 2 squared, that is equal to 4. So therefore, our final answer is here, guys. So you have x minus 2 multiply 2, x squared plus 2x plus 4 will gives you x cubed minus 8. Alright? Okay, so let's try another one. Okay, let's try another one. Supposing I have y cubed minus 27. Again, the first thing that we're going to do, guys, is to check if the first and the second term are perfect cube. So you have to get the cube root of both terms. So the cube root of y, so that is equal to, of course, y. Then minus the cube root of 27. So what number, when you triplicate, the answer is 27. So what times what times what equals to 27? So that is equal to 3, di ba? So 3 times 3, 9 times 3, 27. So therefore, the cube root of 27 is 3. So you just ask yourself, what times what times what in perfect cube. Kapag square naman, what times what only. Okay? Alright. Then, we simply follow the rule. Sabi, this is your A. This is your B. So, in here, what we expect is A square plus the product of A and B. Sorry for that. Plus the square of B. So this is the expected answer. So we simply plug in, no, the value of A, which is y, B, which is 3 in this pattern. So we have A squared. Since my A is y, so therefore this is y squared. Then plus, no, A times B. So my A is y, my B is 3. So simply 3y. Then plus the square of b, which is 3, and that is 9. So therefore, our final answer is y minus 3 multiplied to y squared plus 3y plus 9. Okay? So let's try another one. Okay. So supposing I have 8x cubed minus 27y cubed. Again, the first thing that we're going to do is to check if the given are, if the first and the second term are perfect cubes. So by getting the cube root of both terms. So the cube root of 8, of course, that is 2. So again, if you are asked to get the cube root of 8, simply ask yourself what times what times what for you to get 8. So that is 2 times 2, 4 times 2, 8. So that's why your answer is 2. And what times what times what for you to have x cubed? Of course, x times x times x. According to the law of exponent, when we multiply the same base, we simply copy the base, then add the exponents. And since we have 3 x's, so we simply copy 1x, then add those exponents. So remember, if we only have a variable and no visible exponent, there is an imaginary 1 always, no? So we simply add exponent. That's why we have x cubed there. So the cube root of x cubed is x. Then automatic simply copy minus sign and the cube root of 27. So again, what times what times what for you to have 27. So that is 3 times 3, 9 times 3, 27. So therefore, the cube root of 27 is 3. And what times what times what for you to have y cubed? Of course, y. Again, this is our A and this is our B. And we expect that the other factor must be written in the form of a squared plus the product of a and b and the square of b. So let's do that. Okay? So your a is 2x, so we have to square the entire 2x. So what is the square of 2? Of course, 4. What is the square of x? Of course, x squared. So therefore, we have 4x squared there. Then plus the product of a and b. So you have 2x times 3y. So 2 times 3, 6. Then x and y. So 6xy. Then plus the square of b. Alright. So the square of 3, that would be 9. And the square of y is of course y squared. So therefore, our final answer is 2x minus 3y times or multiply to 4x squared plus 6xy plus 9y squared. Alright? So, that's how to answer the difference of two cubes. So, simply, ganyan din yung gagawin natin on the sum of two cubes. So, let's try an example. So, supposing I have m cubed plus 64. Alright? Again, we have to check if the given terms, or the first and the second term, are perfect cube. So, for us to test that, we simply ask what times what times what for us to have m cubed. Of course, we need 3 m's. So, therefore, the cube root of m cubed is m. Then plus the cube root of 64. So, what times what times what equals to 64? So, let's see. 4 times 4, 16. Times 4, 64. So, therefore, the cube root of 64 is 4. And now, basically, in sum of two cubes, alright, this is your A, again, and this is your B. And of course, the operator is plus. So, what we expect on the other factor, we expect that this is the square of A pa rin, guys. But this time, the middle term or the second term of the trinomial or the product between A and B will turn into minus. So that is the difference between the difference of two cubes and the sum of two cubes. So, wag tayo malilito, guys, no? So, sa difference of two cubes, all positive tayo sa trinomial. Pero pagdating sa sum of two cubes, the middle term here is subtraction or minus. And the last term is the same. So, plus b squared pa rin siya. Alright, so we simply do that. So, your a here is m. So, therefore, we are expecting to get a squared. So, we have m squared. So, we simply plug in. No, your a is m, your b is 4. So, m times 4, so that would be 4m. Then, finally, plus b squared. So, your b is 4. So, 4 squared is equal to 16. So, therefore, this is our final answer. That's how the sum of two cubes and difference of two cubes goes. So, kung ipapractice natin to, guys, palagi, I'm pretty sure sobrang dali lang nito. Okay? So, let's try another one. So, supposing I have 8 plus 27n cubed. Again, the first thing that we have to check is if the first and the second term are perfect cube. Kasi if not, then this is not under sum of two cubes or difference of two cubes. So, we cannot use the pattern. Remember, this is just a special formula in factoring. So, hindi natin pwedeng ipilit ito sa iba, no? If it is not pwede, no? Okay. So, again, the cube root of 8 is 2. Alright? Because what times what times what equals to 8. So, that's 2. Then, plus the cube root of 27. So, that is equal to 3. and the cube root of n is, or the cube root of n cube is n. Alright? So again, we expect this factor according to the rule. So this is your A, 2, and the entire 3n is your B. So we expect that the other factor must be the square of A, then minus the product between A and B, then plus the square of B. So yun na lang yung kailangan natin, guys. So let's do that. So A square, and your A is 2. So 2 square is equal to 4, then minus the product between A and B. So 2 times 3, that would be 6. Then we simply copy n. Then finally, the square of B. So the square of 3 is 9, and the square of n is, of course, n squared. So therefore, our final answer is this. Alright? So that is the sum of 2 cubes. So super easy lang, no? Ayan. So, Sir Hill, ano ba yung general trinomial? Ayan, isingit natin. Ano ba, Sir Hill, yung general trinomial na sinasabi mo? So, kung hindi siya perfect square trinomial, ano ba, Sir Hill, yung general trinomial na kinukwento mo? Okay, so halimbawa po ganito. Okay, supposing I have x squared plus 5x plus 6, and we are asked to factor this out. So, of course, the first thing that we're going to do is to test if the first and the third term are perfect square. Of course, the square root of x squared is x, but the square root of 6 is not a perfect one. So, therefore, diba, the square root of 6 is not a perfect one, no? Meaning, hindi siya makakapag-generate ng whole number na answer when I operate square root of 6. So therefore, this is not PST, or not a perfect square trinomial. So what are we going to do, sir? So ganito lang yan. So again, let me just rewrite the problem, no? The first thing that we're going to do is to, okay, kung ganito lang siya naman, kadali lang, guys. So the first thing that we're going to do is to make two binomials here. Alright, and check the sign of the last term. So if the last term is positive, it tells us that the operator in between these two binomials are the same. Again, kung yung last term ay positive, yung operation natin o operator natin sa dalawang binomial ay pareho ng sign. So, anong sign, Sir Hill? So, tatanungin natin yung sign ng middle term. So, if the middle term is positive, then therefore, pareho silang positive. If the middle term is minus, then pareho silang minus. Again, yun ay kung positive yung last term. So, we have to take note of that. Then, of course, simple lang. What times what for us to have x squared? Of course, x times x. Now, here's the thing. We're going to focus on the last term, which is 6. So, mag-iisip tayo, guys. We're going to think of two factors, two numbers. Alright, so when I multiply, the answer is 6, but when I add them, the answer is 5. Again, if the last term is positive, we are looking for the middle term if when we add, the result is the middle term. Okay? Kapag positive yung dulo, ang hinahanap natin at the middle ay yung dalawang number na kapag pinag-add, ang sagot ay yung middle term. So basically, may isip nyo, guys, 2 times 3 is equal to 6, right? And 2 plus 3 is equal to 5. Exactly. Now, yan na yung magiging numerical values natin dito sa dalawang binomial. Now, for you to check if your answer, if your factors are correct, So we simply do the FOIL method. So x times x, then we have x squared. Then the outer term, 3 times x, so that is positive 3x. Then the inner term, 2 times x, that is positive 2x. And finally, the product of the last term, 2 times 3, that is equal to 6. And then combine similar terms. So therefore, I have x squared plus 5x plus 6, which is the original problem natin kanina. Okay? So therefore, our final answer, the factor of x squared plus 5x plus 6 is x plus 2 times, or x plus 3 times x plus 2. Oh guys ha, wag malito. It's okay if you write 3 first followed by 2 or 2 first followed by 3. So okay lang yon, since in multiplication we have commutative property. Okay, that's basically the general trinomial. Okay, so I hope you enjoy our lesson today. So I hope to see you soon. So keep safe everyone, and thank you for watching.